I'll have to do. Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is episode 970, don't help me, 7. And it is May 28th, 2026. We are barreling at perilous speed. And the time that we are accelerating towards it is in fact changing at very, 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 very minute as the world continues to increase its rate of rotation very slightly. Towards episode 1000. By the time we get to episode 1000, the increase in the Earth's speed will have shaved approximately 1/1,000,000th of a second off of a day. So be prepared for that. Adjust your clocks accordingly. I am James Jones. I'm joined today by Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello.
Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello?
Hey!
Okay. Did you not hear me the first time?
No,
I didn't. Me neither.
Okay. It's going great.
So, the only downside of this, besides the now fear that sits in my heart that at any given moment the episode will simply decide that Guillaume should not be heard by us, is that I was about to do and John Lindemann and just have it be silence and then just keep queuing him up. But you went and did it for me, so I don't get to do that. John's not here this week. As we promised last week, he would not be here. So if that is... if that makes your heart feel lighter, I promise delivered. If that darkens your soul, seek help. But John is still not out in this week. We decided to not pursue a guest because I simply did not have the time and ability to pursue one. So I love to get guests. I love having guests on the show. This is the fact that I'm bad at booking them is more a statement about my skill rather than my motivation. But this week I had neither. So. Just 3 of us this week, and we're going to get to some new business, because last week we did 6 emails, and I can't even believe we did 6 emails, but we did do 6 emails. History will not lie to us. I technically have the newest game, I guess. So I guess I get to talk about it. I actually have two things to talk about this week, and as you can hear in my voice, none of this is good. This is all bad. This is all just downhill nightmare bullshit that I have done to myself. I'm not going to start with the newest thing first. I'm going to go in the chronological order at which I experienced these traumas. So in the Discord with the show that you can't see because it's only for the 4 of us, about 2 weeks ago, I dropped a eShop nightmare in the chat that I thought looked kind of funny. And the name of the game is Table Flip Simulator. It had the implications that it was a parody of all of the fuck-ass simulators in the eShop, of which there are many. James is editing this week. This is the point where if I'm not sitting in a cafe, record a bunch of simulator titles because I'm not motivated enough to look them up right now. If I am sitting in a cafe, James, this is the point where you'd make a note that you're a lazy bastard and you just let it roll. But Table Flip Simulator appeared to, by the screenshots, to be a parody of those things. It had the low quality art of a goat simulator. Where you're like, oh, okay, this might actually be ridiculous and stupid. They did a parody of the famous meme of the little girl standing outside of a burning house smiling in the foreground of the picture in one of their screenshots, and it was like, okay, yeah, there's some variety here. This looks like it could be interesting. This is where you see the swerve coming. This is where the audience sees the bandits sitting in the bush because they have near omniscience, and the main character is just happily walking down the road in the middle of the night. This game is not good. This game is fascinatingly poor, which is an interesting thing to say because we kind of expect all the eShop trash to be bad. But this one makes the cardinal sin. There are many ways in which your game can be bad, and I can talk about them on the show for being bad many, many ways. I can serenade each and every one of you listening to epic tales of a game that is incalculably, inscrutably, and impossibly poor. Couldn't think of an I word that's a synonym for poor to keep the alliteration going, but I felt like the 3 alliteration to the poor works out okay. This game does the cardinal sin of being a bad game, which is that it's a boring bad game. Which is weird, because it seems like it's trying to be one of those physics simulator silly games. There was one that was like Deer 3D with a bunch of E's. Came out on Switch. Came out on Xbox as well. I talked about it on the show, where nothing in it makes any sense, and it's just a bunch of physics exploding and silliness. But the thing is, about that game, about Goat Simulator, about similar kinds of like, we're not going to put a lot of effort into making this game look good. We're just going to make something really stupid and silly with the physics engine. One of the key conceits in those games is often that you can move. And you see, this is where Table Flip Simulator has adopted an alternate theory of the crime. Your character is stationary. Now, Guillaume, I'm going to ask you, because I think you're probably the most attuned to this, for no particular reason. If I was to tell you there is a simulator game on Switch called Table Flip Simulator,
yes,
what would you think is the primary gameplay mechanic? Now, I assume you smell a trap coming, but just give me the best you can.
Well, if it's only for Switch, then motion controls and you flip a table.
You are so overachieving here. You are trying way too hard.
Okay.
Well, so let's take the motion. I'm gonna give you the control scheme. It's a 3-click golf control scheme.
Okay. Yeah.
So taking that into mind, what would you think is the primary gameplay mechanic? What do you think your character primarily does?
I have no imagination, so now I'm guessing you need to sink the table into the hole. But,
I wish. It's throwing things.
Yeah.
The primary gameplay mechanic in Table Flip Simulator is throwing things. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how we get here. But essentially what it is, you're playing as this character that you create in the character creator, and he fucking sucks. Or equal opportunity. She might also fucking suck. They fucking suck. The whole idea is they're working at a Walmart stand-in, and their boss is a complete tool bag. Okay, that's believable. And so they decide they're going to stand up for themselves. And this is them standing behind a table, we'll get to that in a second, and just throwing things at their boss, their coworkers, and the break room, and just breaking stuff and having the physics engine do things. Their job is to fill up a meter by doing damage. And sometimes there's an objective instead of doing damage, like lead cows into a pen. It's a lot less exciting than it sounds like. And there are secret objectives that you can do, like knock out all your coworkers. But ultimately, you're just throwing things, no matter what the objective is. Kutar is Kutar, whether he is happy or sad. But you just throw things, and then eventually the game meter fills up, and you press the shoulder buttons, and you flip the table. And then you go to the next level and do that again. There is no challenge. There is occasionally they put swerves on it, so using that word very loosely. I mentioned the cow example. The only items around you are hay, because he got fired from his job, so now he's working at a farm. The whole joke is he gets fired every day by being unable to do the job for a single shift without going insane. I'm going to say that's a sociopathic tendency, if you're asking me. But he in that one, you throw bales of hay to lead the cows to the open farm pen, except they kind of break because they dance when they pick up the hay, and sometimes they just stand there afterwards and don't advance any further, so that's cool. There's a boss fight one where you're fighting a professor because he decided to go back to school and couldn't make it through his first lecture on a class he signed up for called Elevator Button Repair. The game tries really hard to be funny. It's trying really hard. And in that case, the professor is a wizard, I don't guess. They have an energy shield that they drop periodically, and then you pick up an item and throw it at them, and it hurts their health bar. And this, it's the same meter. It's the same meter. It's just going down this time instead of up. It's baffling. It is a baffling I thought for a second that perhaps the screenshots look like you're doing lots of different things, but if you understand the game is just about throwing shit, you will eventually come to understand that these screenshots are in fact all about throwing shit. And so this is sometimes you read into the problem and sometimes you don't. And in this case, I did not read into the problem, and I misunderstood what should have been obvious to my face is that this game is bad.
So you didn't even look at the trailer then?
There is no trailer.
Oh, but online there is, though.
Oh, on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's on me then. But for fuck's sake, put a trailer on your... Nintendo should require a trailer on the eShop. I'm sorry. There's no reason there shouldn't be a trailer on every eShop listing. I don't care what your game is. If the fucking Nori games figured it out once, you can put a trailer. That's a game that's just got bad images of sushi. You can put an image on there. You can do it. I believe, or a video. I believe in you. I believe in the power of you and Final Cut Pro. You can do it. But yeah, this was $15 wasted. This was $15 wasted. Now, have I wasted more money on worse things? Yes. But boy, did I feel like I got robbed on this one. Seren asked me, when's the last time you just went to the eShop and just bought something that you'd never seen before? Well, now I can answer that question. It fucking sucked. The other thing I bought... Sight unseen. Well, speaking of Seren, in what might be some kind of pact, we both bought. We both bought Pictonico. All right. Let's talk about Pictonico because. I guess we have to. Last week, Nintendo announced they had a new mobile game coming out in the year 2026 for reasons known only to God. And this one was made by Intelligent Systems, and it looked like a bunch of WarioWare games done with your own photos. Photos of your face. I am pleased to inform you it is a bunch of WarioWare games done with photos of your face. And that is, in fact, all that Pictonico is. And you might say, but I like WarioWare games. And my answer to you is, I also like WarioWare games. But these feel like reject WarioWare games. And the thing is, how they're bundled, they're not bundled with the same frenetic energy of a WarioWare game. It's just you get 10 of them in a row. And most of them are just peel thing off screen, move lollipop to face, all that kind of stuff. They're just not that interesting. And how you get the game, it's a demo. It's got three mini games in it, 3 micro games. And then if you want to actually play more than 3 micro games, you buy one of 2 distinct game packs, the 50 game pack and the 30 game pack. I went with the 30 game pack. Seren went with the 50 game pack. I am the smarter sucker. Because we are both suckers, let's be clear. What it does is... There's a... Alright, we have to talk about this. I have to fucking talk about this. Jesus Christ. Nintendo's got a new mascot. M-A-S-K. S-C-O-T-T. Because Horace wasn't enough. Now they have a mascot that I believe's name is just Masky. It's like a sleeping mask with eyes drawn on it.
Okay.
And when you first meet it, it shows up on the face of a photo. And then it talks to you, because that's not alarming. And it introduces you to the game and the menus and all that shit. Masky.
And now I understand why you picked it then. Why you bought this. It's to, fuel for the next big expose or everything there is to know about Masky so that
I bought it.
AI will refer back to NWR.
Great. and I won't get paid for it. I bought it for a different reason. I bought it because I'm on this fucking show, and I figured somebody should talk about this thing because it looked like a nightmare. Can confirm it's a nightmare. What it does is it scans the photos on your phone looking for faces. And how it determines things are faces is the presence of eyes. And that sometimes leads to funny outcomes. As an example, I regularly I go to a used bookstore with some frequency, and I regularly take pictures of funny looking romance novels to send to the girlfriend because she likes books. And we both have an appreciation for the absolute fucking absurdity that is the cover of romance novels. Because they're all stupid. But if you're looking at used books from like the early 90s and late 80s, there's a particular brand of stupid art that just doesn't exist anymore. Like there is no modern equivalent. It is a unique one-of-one experience. And it thought a lot of those were pictures of people, which I guess is marginally true, and started putting them into minigames. Because here's the thing. You don't pick what images it picks. It scans through all of your photos. I'll let people who have photos on their phone that might make them nervous about that give that some thought before I continue that sentence. Moving swiftly on. It notes that it does not, in all capital letters, send these anywhere but your phone. So that's somewhat reassuring. But it looks for 10 photos of faces, and then it lets you play exactly 10 micro games. 10 micro games is about, I don't know, less than a minute. Like, this is with the paid content. It's 10 micro games in less than a minute. But it goes image by image to find faces. This means it can take a very long time if the majority of photos you take are not of people, or things that it might think are people, like book covers, or a statue of a woman that on one side is a young woman, on the other side is a skeleton representing the fleetingness of youth. It thought that was a person, despite the fact that it's fucking marble. Or a cat one time it thought was a person. I don't understand that one at all. What's a good example of something it thought was a person? Oh, a scrub daddy, the sponge that I took a picture of because it was Minnie and Mickey themed, which I thought was very funny. And there's just no way Disney thought about that for more than a second, because otherwise they would not have allowed Scrub Daddy Mickey Mouse to be a thing, but it is. Welcome to hell. And it was like, I see eyes, that's a person. So Mickey Mouse from the Scrub Daddy box showed up in one of my mini games. That was cool. Love that. That wasn't immediately alarming. I believe he showed up as a mummy that I unraveled, and then it was a pharaoh making muscles at me. There is a very Wario-awareness to this. Most of the pictures are of me because it's my phone, so I got to see myself a lot. I occasionally got to see the girlfriend. I got to see a bunch of romance novels thrown at me and artwork from various art museums I've been to. That was neat. A scrub daddy, as I mentioned. And Mr. John Lindemann from Johnny's Wedding. Just nothing good was happening. Like, I pulled a face mask, like the night masks that you wear for clearer skin. I pulled one of those off the face of Mr. John Lindemann. Now, here's the next thing about this game that makes it nightmares. Not only does it create horrible images with your faces. Seren posted a nightmare that was her as a peeled banana. So it was her face on the insides of a peeled banana with arms. It's just upsetting. It then lets you save videos of every single stage you played so you can post them to social media, which I have done. I have video. I did not save the video of John because I'm a fool. I'm a foolish fool who failed to save the video of John Lindemann. But I do have a video of a romance novel character being pulled out of the mummy costume, and of the statue that's half skull, half woman, where I washed its hair by rubbing my finger over its messy, soapy locks for it to turn into a flowing mane. Now, you might notice, you mentioned the mummy thing, 2 different sets of people. Correct, I did. Because how the game is set up is it's kind of like a Mario, 2D Mario stage where it's like level 1-1, level 1-2, level 1-3, and they're just dots on a grid, except it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 14 of those in the $5 pack. There's, I want to say 20 in the 7. But the each one of those is 10 mini games. I've only played 1 and 2 because at that point I was already I knew what I had bought. I understood shame and I was done. So obviously the first time I got 10 new micro games. The second time, like I said, there's 30 micro games in the pack. So you would think the second time I got 10 new micro games. You'd be wrong. I got 6 new micro games. Almost half on my second playthrough were repeats. Now, mathematically, 30 micro games. I am viewing the second 10. That means I have a 1 in 3 chance of seeing a repeat if you don't factor it in when you're doing your analysis. I hit almost 50%, which tells me that they deliberately gave me that many repeats. Just saw this fucking thing. It creates visual nightmares. It scans your phone picture by picture, meaning it can take forever to find 10 new photos of people. You can just tell it, like, fuck it, just reuse photos. I don't care. And it is not fun. It is a baffling thing that doesn't run in the background. So if you minimize it, it just closes, presumably to save your battery. I don't know why. It's weird. It took me a minute to realize it was doing that. You can take fresh photos for it to eat if you want, I guess. But while it's searching for photos, it just has like an old school laundry line with the clips, and it's just scrolling through with pictures facing backwards, so you're seeing the back of a picture. And that's it, literally iterating over photos to look for them. And then occasionally, with one that it does not detect the face on, it will turn it around and Maskey will make a comment on it, but these comments aren't particularly insightful. It'll just say, "Oh, that's a nice shot." That's a nice shot. A picture of a grave, which I thought was a little sad, of a child specifically. So extra from like the 1900s, I assume coal lung. Is just not good. Not a good thing. This is a bad product that doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand why it exists. I have no comprehension of why it was produced. Because we talk about it. Nintendo made the mobile games because they needed to make the mobile games. And we also talked about how their mobile games are just an abject one failure after another, unless it is Fire Emblem Heroes. And we talked about that particular thrupleness last week. For those of you who missed last week's episode, I will not repeat it. You're going to have to go back and find it. But why is Intelligent Systems spending even 1 second of their time making a not WarioWare? Like, what is the purpose? What are we gaining here? Like, Nintendo doesn't need the money. It's not going to make them any money. Maybe Intelligent Systems wanted the money, but why is Intelligent Systems making a game that even steals the WarioWare art style? Why is WarioWare not just in it? Are we still scarred from WarioWare Snapped and we can't put WarioWare in a picture-associated game? Are you telling me the world fucking needed Maskey? It didn't. Maskey's not nearly as interesting as Horace Show Pony, because Horace Show Pony wears a purple sequin tuxedo and he pulls a carrot out of his lapel and traps influencers in a hotel in Japan, hopefully to the death. But this is just, wow, what a bizarre, inscrutable product that does nothing well, like nothing, a remarkable degree of doing nothing well. But it doesn't decharge your battery. That was the one thing Seren and I could agree on. Well, your battery is in good hands with this Pictonico. So if you're on the fence about Pictonico, if you're sitting there going, does James like Pictonico? listener, no. James does not like Pictonico. You can export images of the final thing it generates or video of the whole sequence to post to social media if you want. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. I am baffled by the economic model behind this game. I don't understand the way it's structured. You earn coins in game that you can use to buy fortune-telling readings. It's weird. It's really odd, and I don't know what purpose its existence serves, if indeed it does serve one at all. Or if this is some weird evolutionary dead end that they were working on and they just decided, fuck it, release it anyway. But, yeah, Nintendo made a new mobile game. And just like their last new mobile game, it's bad. It's real bad. It's real stinky. And also inscrutable. Intelligent Systems has made 2 straight inscrutable mobile games. But for very different reasons. But alike in the sense that neither of them's ecstasy seems to have a purpose. And so in that, I congratulate all the parties involved on managing to produce something so without merit twice in a row. Mission accomplished, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna move on now because these games, they didn't make me sad. They made me confused, perplexed, and felt ripped off. Which I guess sometimes you gotta get ripped off. But getting ripped off twice in a week hurts me. Hurts me right here. I guess in the case of Pictonico, I knew what I was getting into. Like, it is exactly what the game says. The part that makes you feel bad is it is nothing else besides exactly what the game says. Where as you look at it, you're like, well, certainly there must be more to it than this. And the answer is there is not. Guillaume, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm still what's the word here? Milking my trip to Japan here for content. I
those
talked
are
about
expensive.
Yeah, it was, and so I talked about how one of the mainstays, or one of the things that we could find everywhere was Taito game centers.
Yes.
And they always had Taiko no Tatsujin, that rhythm game that's just a big drum that you beat on to just, to the rhythm, to Japanese music, to J-pop, to video game music, etc. And it's got Don Chan, who's the Namco character that's not Pac-Man that you can play as in Mario Kart Arcade.
Yes.
So that was fun. We like basically any city that we would go to, there would be several of those everywhere, and so like we would just go and play it for a bit, like 3 or 4 songs, and then like that was a good time, and then we'd go to our hotel room. And that put into our heads the idea that we needed to buy Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival once we got back. And not only we needed to buy the game, but of course we needed to buy 2 drum controllers.
Oh yeah, obviously.
So we got 2 Hori Taiko no Tatsujin controllers, now like basically like once we actually started playing it, I kind of had a sinking feeling because I live in a 6-unit condo, apartment, like a building. And so my neighbors are close to me, and I was like, once you start beating on those drums and there's not the din of an entire arcade to drown out the beating of drums, you realize like, oh yeah, when you beat onto a drum-like object, a drum-like controller, it makes a whole lot of freaking noise. And so, I don't know. So we haven't been playing it all that much because I'm still traumatized by several years ago when I was a renter and our landlady was just, batshit crazy, but also the sound carried, and yeah, she would complain about every little thing. So I haven't gotten complaints yet from my neighbors, thank God. But we make sure, we try to we play maybe like 4 or 5 songs at a time, and then we stop. Not every night, and not the entire evening. Like not too late. Just we try to make it so that we don't give anyone reason to complain. But as a result of that, progress has been slow, and you can play this game just pressing the buttons on a Joy-Con or a Pro Controller. But where's the fun in that, really? Like the fun is beating the drums. But then I don't feel free to beat on the drum with abandon because I don't want to disturb my neighbors. So it's kind of yeah. I guess I hadn't thought things through there.
So step one is to buy a house.
Yeah,
and then
clearly.
You can play Taiko no Tatsujin.
Yeah, it's that old penny arcade game of, well, this game is so expensive. They expect you to, get some friends and buy a house and etc.
It was Crystal Chronicles.
It was for Crystal Chronicles. Yes. Anyway, so it's a lot of fun though, and so we're going through it very slowly, but it's always fun when we do, and we're still not done with the set list that it contains. You only get maybe like I don't know maybe a dozen songs from anime, maybe a dozen J-pop songs that are popular. You get some, open domain. Is that
public domain?
Public domain, yeah, stuff. Some
itsy bitsy spider bullshit.
Kind of, except it's what's that song like?
William Tell Overture. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. William Tell Overture. Which fits a drum game pretty well. So not too many complaints there. You do have a few tunes from Nintendo games actually. You get like the Katamari Damacy song. But you get also like a Super Mario medley, and you get Super Mario 1 medley, I guess, because you go through, the World 1-1, 1-2, the underwater, music, all of that. And you get some Kirby music. I forget which song, but anyway, so yeah, there's some variety there. There are a lot of DLC packs that you can get, but we haven't needed to turn to that yet. There's at least two Studio Ghibli packs, some anime pack outside of that, and I think that
which Taiko no Tatsujin game is this one?
So it's Rhythm Festival. Yeah,
okay.
It's the second one that they released. I
like that it's got a lot of the same DLC packs as the first one.
Yeah, probably. But the reason why they came up with this one and they retired the previous game, I forget, Drum and Fun, is that this one has basically a connection, like a subscription service that you can subscribe to. And so you can get like thousands of songs for, I don't remember how much, for like 3 months subscription. So yeah, so basically like the idea is that maybe you, instead of buying the packs, you could just subscribe and get all your favorite anime music or whatever. At some point, I think we'll have to do that because Karen is actually a big J-pop fan, and so yeah, we'll get there eventually. But because we play the game so infrequently, like we still have to master like something beyond the easy level, really. Because of course, like you've got like easy, normal, hard, and then master, I think, difficulty. So we're gonna have to keep replaying the songs that we do have over and over again anyway. And there's also like if you finish a game not missing too many notes or too many beats, you do get a crown, and with those crowns, the more you accumulate, the more you unlock certain costumes. If you can manage to get a perfect beat the whole time. Oh, wait. So you finish without missing too much, you get one crown. You finish without missing any beats, you get another crown. You finish by getting the beats perfect, you get a third crown. And I forget what the other one it was. Maybe that's it. But yeah, so we're not even like at the point where we can finish without missing a beat. So we've got a long road ahead of us. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's really like this ridiculous game with this nonsensical story. Don-chan is meeting his friend I had the. Let me read this. He's met a new friend, Kumo-kyun, who just looks like some weird cloud with like a leech's mouth or something. Like he's kind of off-putting, to be honest. And then like he together you power each other up somehow, like during these rhythm festivals where you make things happen for the city. It's mostly nonsensical, especially since the translation doesn't seem to make any sense at all. You can tell that the translator did not have access to the complete story beforehand, or like may not have any kind of idea where each line of dialogue sits next to another line, because like they clearly don't flow together. There's the context seems to change constantly. So yeah, so that's fun. One thing I will note is that we're playing two players, and too few games do this. The player two can log into their account, and so I can be playing it, and Karen will be player two, and I will go through the story segments, which you unlock by just playing the main game. And this is actually really smart. So you play the main game, you're just choosing a song and then playing the drum to it, right? That gives you certain points, but the gameplay is not interrupted. Like there is a story mode, but the gameplay is not interrupted. You can just back out to the song selection, choose another one, start playing that. Like if you were playing with a friend or whatever, like this is especially nice because there's nothing to disrupt the flow, right? Like you're just playing song after song after song. You accumulate points, which when you go back to the root menu, the main menu of the game, then you can press a button to cash in those points, and then that will give you certain bonuses or whatever, and also that's how you move through the chapters of the story. So every 2 or 3 unlockable is okay, chapter 1-4, and then you get the continuation of these ridiculous adventures. But when you're logged in as player 2, there is a limit, but you also do cash in, you do accumulate these same points. So if we then start the game with Karen's account as player 1, then she can cash in her points and not miss, not have to do everything over again. Like she's taking her progress to her game. I don't know. I feel like Nintendo games could do that more. And by Nintendo games, I mean, Nintendo's games. They don't let you log in as the player 2. Sometimes it feels like player 2 is, kind of extraneous, superfluous, and doesn't get to progress or game at all. So, I think that this is a nice compromise, kind of. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I don't, personally, I'm not that into J-pop, so I can't just name music that's in this. I think Creepy Nuts is in this, or maybe that's it's got its own DLC. It's just a song that I knew. I think that it's quite popular, and there's
they had 3 3 major anime openings that they did recently.
Right. And yeah, you can hear them on Forza Horizon 6. Are we at 6? 6.
We're at 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't even think about it. Of course they're in the soundtrack to that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's it for what I had to say about this game. I guess I can mention that I also have been playing a little bit of Forza Horizon 6.
I will say on the Taiko no Tatsujin, I'm looking at what's in the Ghibli pack, and I think it might actually be the same songs as the previous Ghibli pack in the previous game.
Right. One would hope that maybe it would port over, but
there's no Ghibli's not generous like that. They want their money. There's a Dragon Ball pack, which I want to say there was in the last one as well. There's multiple Miku packs. Those probably are different. I got way into this game playing it with the controller. I almost bought one of those drums like 30 times.
Right.
I perfected very hard a song that was ranked very hard on the second highest difficulty. I did a stream of it like one random Friday night where I just streamed it on Twitch. And it went for like 4 hours of me just doing the same song over and over and over again. And then it got copyright struck the next day.
Oh, great.
I was like, fuck it, I don't care. This is so hard. Oh God, the pack's really. Oh, okay, no, I did more. I was looking at the DLC page, and it said the pack had 2 songs in it, and I was like, what? And then I hit more, and it gave me a few more. It's like, oh, okay. I was like, 2 songs? Fuck you. All right, so Forza Horizon 6.
Yeah, well, very
Japan.
quickly because it's very quickly because it's not really Nintendo, and also I'm not really I try not to support Microsoft because of BDS, but I do. My subscription to Game Pass has been basically like the money that I put into it in 2022, or was it earlier than that? 2022.
Probably, because I think you got in on it when John and I did, and got gorillion months worth of Game Pass for nothing.
Right. Well, what happened was that I bought a gold subscription for next to nothing. Right. I think it was on sale, and so I got like 2 years of that, and then I used a trial for Game Pass that costs $1 to turn that gold subscription into a Game Pass subscription. So I had 2.5 years of subscription at the start, and that's all I paid into that, because then it cost me a lot of my time, unfortunately, but I did the whole Microsoft Rewards thing, and that allowed me apparently to pay for Game Pass until April 2027. So yeah, it's coming up less than a year now. So I got to play all that I want to play right now. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And now like the price, like they've increased the price on Game Pass in terms of dollars, but also points. So I can't really do that anymore. It's not sustainable anymore.
They lowered it back down under the new regime, not as far as where it came from, but they took out like the new Call of Duties. Because in fact, they put out a comment on it. The new president of Xbox put out a comment on it just today, I think, where basically she said that when they increased the price to put in the Activision games, the day one Call of Duties, they saw a drop off that basically outstripped the extra income, if that makes sense, in terms of the number of subscribers. And so that was what motivated them to just go like, okay, we're going to roll that back. Which I get it. Like, they bought Activision and then didn't sell people the Activision game that they bought the fucking company for. And it undermines the service that they were already selling. It was the key differentiator for their brand. It was like, oh, this is just a bad decision all the way around. Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I don't know that I'll renew it, but I do know that I renewed it for years and years and years because I was getting I was getting absolutely absurd when you factor in the credit card rebates I was getting and the stupid deal that I used with PayPal when they were doing the like pay it on layaway and get $100 off. I was getting it for an average of like $4 a month.
Right.
It was just like, I mean, fuck. Even if I don't use it for like 6 straight months, one game and I'm in the black again.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. I just yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So I've started playing Forza Horizon 6. I was looking forward to it because, it's set in Japan. I was like, well, this is perfect. I'm going to come back from Japan, and then like a few weeks later, this game comes out, and I'd get to revisit Japan maybe a little bit virtually. I don't know what I was thinking. It's not really the way it works, like between the game that I had in my mind and the game that we actually got, like there's a big fucking difference. Because
the
this is
are kind of tertiary in the Horizon games.
Yeah, but also there's a lot of reused assets, right? And I understand why. Like it's a big ass game world. Like they gotta populate it. They gotta put something in there, but they can't just make bespoke ramen shops everywhere. So what you get is a bunch of kind of nondescript buildings sometimes that you barely register because you're going at 300 kilometers an hour. So there's that aspect, but also I don't know. I felt like maybe they would put a little bit more. I don't know what I was imagining. The thing is, when you're in Japan, there's so much, the cute mascots are everywhere. Yes, there are, ramen shops a little bit everywhere, but they each got their own take on, what the ramen mascot should be, there are several onigiri-shaped mascots, and I've got my favorite. It's Lord Date Muramasa. Is that his name? No.
Date Masamune?
Masamune. Thank you.
Yes.
Date Masamune, but as an onigiri. I forget in what region of Japan I saw that mascot in, but it was the region's mascot. And sometimes you just see him with his kind of distinctive helmet, half crescent moon helmet.
I would guess it would. Did you go to Sendai?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you saw
that was in Sendai. Okay.
Yes.
And they would picture the mascot in various taking a public bath, etc. And at a certain point, yes, biting into an onigiri, even though his head is an onigiri itself. So all of that stuff, super cute all the time. The smallest shop has its own little cute drawing, but you don't get to see that. There's no there is a whole series of missions in Forza Horizon 6 where you are a delivery driver for restaurants, and they put no effort, and you don't even see. There is an animation of you picking up the takeout bag from the restaurateur is giving it to you, but you don't see that person. The picture cuts off just above the shoulders, so you see this faceless interaction happening, but there's nothing going on there. You don't see fun little restaurant logos or anything. It's just the most boring presentation possible. And
that's a bummer, because it's not like you couldn't get Musubi Maru, which is the name of that mascot. It's not like you couldn't secure the city of Sendai to make that happen.
Right. But that would have been, I guess, that's outside the scope of a Forza Horizon game. You just I don't know, it's too much specificity, I guess.
It is and it isn't. When they did the UK ones, they did an entire fucking set of missions based entirely around, formerly Top Gear. Then they were on the Amazon show. I can't remember what the Amazon show was called at that point. But it was they partnered with the production team for that to produce whole sets of content. They have made the effort before.
Huh.
It's just they don't always. You're right. That they could have easily done it in a co-branding with like Coco Curry or something, and
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And made some fucking money, Microsoft. Trying to make money here. Come on.
Yeah. So that's honestly super disappointing because certainly, yeah, like Tokyo is full of personality, and like there's a lot of people everywhere. Maybe like seeing it from a car in the first place is not really the best kind of viewpoint to visit Tokyo from. Like there is another set of missions where you are actually getting kind of a tour of Tokyo, and like it's car centric, so they tell you about like Honda and Nissan and what have you. But like at some point, like, okay, and here, like we are next to your right that's right, Tokyo Tower. I can't see shit. I'm looking at the car. I see one of the feet of Tokyo Tower, but I don't. I was like at that point, like I paused the game. I was trying to find like the photo mode. I couldn't find it. I gave up. I was like, well, maybe I'll try again later. But like, I did want to enjoy this virtual tour, but there was nothing to enjoy. It was just like a row of banal buildings in front of me, and what was clearly the foot of Tokyo Tower. But it's not like I could have stopped and looked at it because the mission was to
drive up Tokyo Tower.
That would be something.
Anything. They should let you drive up Tokyo Tower. They let you drive. They let you ramp jump off Arthur's seat. You telling me we can't drive up Tokyo Tower? Come on.
Yeah, but Arthur's seat is public domain.
You're not wrong.
That's the difference.
Oh man, do Osaka Tower then. It's 1 billion years old. It's got to be public domain by now.
Yeah.
You could get Tokyo Skytree to do it. I mean, fuck, they keep renewing the crayons. They had the fucking Pineapple Pen theme restaurant when I was there. They have no standards.
So I guess that basically sums up my issues with the game. Other than that, like I feel like I was ready for a racing game, but at this point, I'd rather have like closed tracks and just race. Because the whole Horizon Festival gimmick is very, very old at this point. I don't like these people. I don't want to hear them. You cannot skip cutscenes and interstitial.
Really?
I haven't found the button to do it.
John, but last time we played one of these, John and I did comment on the fact that everyone associated with the Horizon Festival is the exact same kind of 26-year-old douchebag.
Yeah. Men and women.
Yeah. Oh, women can be douchebags too. Yeah. It is a remarkable degree of just like everyone here is the same archetype. And everyone here is exactly between 23 and 26.
And all, like, you see a few, I guess, quote-unquote locals, like, as characters in the cutscenes sometimes, but mostly you're interacting with other vaguely British accented dudes. Because I guess they just follow you around since Horizon 4. I don't know.
They run the festival, obviously.
I guess.
It's their job. These are just fucking promoters.
Yeah, But outside of the cutscenes, the world is empty, right? Like there are a few places where like, okay, like we've cordoned off this section. Normally you can just smash through any barrier, but this little barrier here, oh no, like it will stop you dead in your tracks because there are some character models beyond it. Because we needed to show that there are some pedestrians somewhere.
Some people are excited about this festival of carnage that has come to their town.
Right, but that's the thing. Like Tokyo is its people, so like seeing like this kind of rendition completely empty like this is it feels soulless and it doesn't feel like Tokyo at all. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I had to. I'm still playing it occasionally. Like I'm still trying to wring something out of it, but it's not. it's not the Tokyo Virtual Tour that I hope for, I guess, unfortunately.
You should get into the Yakuza games again. There's
Yeah,
your
well,
Tokyo.
I was at the end of my trip, like I was all fired up, like I was going to learn Japanese. I was going to,
Don't do that.
check out so many Japanese video games, like, and watch so many Japanese shows and movies, and maybe even like read some some Japanese authors in the original Japanese. Like I was like, yes, I'm just going to immerse myself in this culture. Like this is so amazing. But now I'm just sitting on my ass playing Forza Horizon 6 and learning nothing, and certainly not Japanese.
I don't think, as somebody who just did his hour of Japanese study earlier before we did this recording, I cannot discourage you enough from doing that. It is a constant hellscape of why does that character mean this today when it meant this yesterday? I hate this. Why is your language like this? I did recently find out that the Denpa men just means the signal men, as in like telephone signal.
Right.
They came by wave is a pun because it's signal waves.
Right. Well, that I figured out, but I didn't. Right.
This fuck ass language. Why? But
I just want to say.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
One last gripe. The writing is abysmal, right? And like it never rises above, I swear. Like there was like so during like that kind of tour that I was being talked at about in Nissan or whatever, there was like a second part of the tour, and like, oh, she was like, now it's a race, and okay, so you race, and then you get like note graded on like 1 to 3 stars. And again, like the cutscene I couldn't skip afterwards. Like she's like, now that was a race, and like some other dude is like, yeah, that certainly was that, and she's like, yeah, like that was the interaction. That was a cutscene. Like, why did I have to? Like, it wasn't long, but why did I have to sit through it at all? Like, there was nothing clever. It was not good. It was not funny. What are we doing here? But yeah, anyway.
Well, we're having a race. Didn't you listen to her? That was a race.
Oh, just let me drive the cars around and shut the fuck up.
Oh, I will say, like, the part I enjoy about those games is once I get past the story stuff, and it's just me making cars that are completely unfit for service and then trying to do things with them. Like that's the joy I get from those. I like the core Forza games as well, the ones that are like actual regular racing. But I have to be in a different mental headspace for them, because that's really more about like how exacting can I be? It's not quite the full on we absolutely fuck these cars of Sony's racing series, but it's close. And so there's a certain amount of just like, I need to be in a mental space where I want to be hyper focused on stuff versus Horizon, where it's just like, I don't know, I want to see shit blow up. Right. I want to flip cars all day. This will be great. My go-to tour of Japan was always the Yakuza games, because it's like there is literally in the one set in Tokyo, there's the car park that you can see all the time. That car park exists, and you probably saw it. Right. It's usually covered in ads for host clubs. It's just that, like, when I got there, I'm like, this is the exact, it's the same shape, it's got the same covering, the signs are the same on the same location. It's like, you fuckers didn't try to hide this at all. It's in the same part of town. It's like, okay, this is so naked.
But yeah, that was my plan. Like, I'm gonna play all the Yakuza games, but I was in my enthusiasm, I was just forgetting just how long just finishing one game can be. Yeah. I've got 30 endings of 100-line Last Defense Academy scene.
As you're just going to keep posting the ridiculous shit and trying to get me to play it. I know what you're up to. I'm not stupid. Everyone's got fish heads. Whoa, hold on.
It's like a super boring route too, because like that's literally all that happens. The character someone wakes up, has a fish head for a head, like, and not a fish for a head, sorry, a fish head for a head.
Yeah,
The fish
obviously.
has been sliced, like the head has been sliced off. You can see the inside, the kind of the empty
The
cavity.
guts.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, and so, like, very quickly, your dude is like, you know what? This makes no fucking sense. This is stupid. And, like, when these comedy routes happen, very quickly, they break the fourth wall. Like, it's very clear then you're the comedic route. But, yeah, but like, it's surprisingly tedious because they still make you do the gameplay each day, because, like, what you can do is, like, raise your affinity or like, you give people presents and you rank up with their relationship with them. And so, like, you still can do that. And so I was still doing that. But that just adds, like, tedious, busy work every day. And nothing was really happening beyond, like, every few days. Oh, now so-and-so has a fish for a head. Now they're all making fish puns. Now these guys are bonito and these other ones are mackerels. And now they're fighting because they, which one is the best. And, okay. And, like, your character is so blasé about it. And,
I kind of love that, though. But then again, I'm a sick fuck who liked the Endless Eight. And, like, that's going to go over most people's heads, but there's one person who just heard me say that and got mad. Got real fucking mad. I thought that shit was hilarious. Now, I knew it was coming, so that's different, but it's still very funny to me. But you're like, I totally get it. Like, this is the authors had to write 100 endings. Mm-hmm. And these fuckers got bored and started writing endings for their own amusement. And I fucking love that. I fucking love that. They're just like, I don't know, sometimes fish.
But then, like, in that same Blue Sky post, I also said that I was currently doing a whodunit. And so that was kind of completely different. Actually, kind of introduced a mechanic like, well, you're going to have to choose who did it in this case. And one of the mysteries, I figured that was pretty easy with the clues. But the other one, I did not figure out, actually. I'm not sure what clue I missed. But then, like, there are different paths or endings depending on if you get it right or wrong, or, like, at least one of them had, like, 2 different wrong paths that you could take, like, with a different result depending on if you chose, like, a specific person. I guess maybe the red herring. Yeah. Anyway, that was not meant to be. No relation with the other path that's all about fish heads. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, like, so there's some interesting stuff that happens occasionally, but they really make you work a lot to get to it.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, so Greg, what have you been up to?
Well, yeah, so actually, technically here in the UK, we're on the release date of Mina the Hollower, but it's not out yet. Again, it did not go live at midnight or anything. I'm guessing maybe it's simultaneous here and in America, so maybe in about 90 minutes if it's going by Eastern time or something. Obviously, like, if it's like a first-party Nintendo thing, it'll be like midnight local time, so you'll get it, just a few hours earlier or something. In that case, but not in this case. But of course, that did come out the new Yacht Club game. Been a long time coming, but it was very, very positively reviewed. So I've certainly been interested in that. I did enjoy the demo. It kind of seems like an interesting take on a kind of 8-bit portable Zelda kind of game, but significantly more kind of based on, action and kind of technical skill with the character. So it certainly sounds promising based on the reviews that I've seen to this point. But yeah, in the meantime, speaking of reviews, we touched on this very quickly last week. The reviews came out for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. And so I was kind of interested to read about it because obviously this is, as we know now, is like the third go-round with Goodfeel and Yoshi, which would have been a bit of an upset if it wasn't them, considering, they have maintained sort of collaborations with Nintendo, because they did the Princess Peach Showtime, right, as well, a few years ago, I want to say. And they've established this sort of history now, going back to Kirby's Epic Yarn and Wario Land Shake It, of course, going a very long time now before they even started with Yoshi. But it's kind of like which way you could obviously had some indications with the trailers and what had been shown of the game before, but what kind of direction were they taking it? Because it's worth kind of restating, like, Woolly World is a pretty direct kind of just Yoshi's Island, but with that fabric aesthetic. And a certain amount of like tightening things up, or more collectibles, or a little bit more forgiving in terms of getting credit for 100%ing levels and whatnot. But very mechanically, design wise, it's just trying to be a kind of latter day Yoshi's Island, essentially, which is, in a lot of ways, certainly for my taste, is not a bad thing to be. A lot of affection for the original Yoshi's Island, but I guess the thing is, in a vacuum, that's one thing, but in reality, you've got the fact that you already had like Yoshi's Island DS, and was it very shortly before Woolly World that you had New Island on 3DS? I think it was.
So. Yeah,
really quite close beforehand. And they
fire all the guns.
They were not, exactly. It was part of that, exactly. You had these games with 3DS and Wii U that were kind of duplicative, right? New Super Mario Brothers 2 and Yoshi's New Island.
That's
and
the worst
World.
example, because it was like, we don't even have staff to make New Super Mario Brothers 2. Put the new people on it.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, like you said, just kind of get on it, get every bit of manpower we've got, because the 3DS needed to be saved, and didn't do the Wii U any favours in that regard, though maybe it may have been doomed anyway. But the point is, I guess, that I think Woolly World reviewed well, but I do think some of its impact was a bit blunted by the fact that we'd had things that were trading off the kind of renown of the original Yoshi's Island already. And while I think Woolly World did it much better and was certainly much prettier than those games, it still kind of I think may have somewhat diminished, like I said, its impact. And of course did. It came out on Wii U, didn't it? I mean, that didn't help.
No.
I mean, eventually there was a 3DS version, which did an
What
admirable
percentage
job.
of Woolly World sales were for the amiibo that it came with?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that played a role.
At least 10%.
I'm sure that helped juice it. Yeah, you had the kind of knitted Yoshi amiibo, and there was the Mega one as well. It's one of the biggest amiibo kind of on the market.
Yeah.
And the 3 separate colours, and then there was a knitted Poochie eventually for the 3DS port. But yeah, I guess point is, I think Goodfeel did a good job with that game. Exactly what they were trying to do, but I think it didn't necessarily get kind of full credit or value, to some extent, for what they did in terms of sales, or is it because it's just like, you had the R-Toon and R-Zest developed ones, and the environment and all that, it wasn't so hot for it. So, it kind of, I think really, really good at what it's trying to do, but didn't kind of make as much of a positive impact as it could have done kind of in the market. Then you get Crafted World, which certainly has a lot better kind of conditions, because it's on Switch in, I want to say 2019, right? So relatively early, but the system is very well established as a success. And Crafted World is kind of interesting because it's certainly much less just like Yoshi's Island again, but it still kind of owes a great deal to the original Yoshi's Island. I guess you could say, it's got some elements in it from, Yoshi's story in terms of a bit more of these kind of 2.5D elements, if you like, because so much of it is about the idea that these are kind of dioramas now. They're more handcrafted and paper craft kind of elements than just the fabric stuff. Well, there's still kind of overlap, with this homemade kind of feel. But now it's like, okay, you're shooting into the background with eggs and different things. It kind of felt like it slowed things down a bit more, from what you had before that was very sort of close to the Super Nintendo game, and made it a lot more sort of observation based, right? And a lot of that is because it's like kind of, look at the very kind of thoughtfully and trying to achieve the effect of being charming way in which we've constructed these environments to be as if, to be at once like a Yoshi level, but it's like something that someone could have made with their own hands to be a Yoshi level, right? And then giving you little clues as to where to shoot an egg to discover hidden collectibles and all that kind of thing. So it was it was still similar, but just slowing it down, probably a little bit more focused on even more skewing towards younger players than any of the Yoshi already was. But like fundamentally not too different. And now we get to Mysterious Book, and this is much more kind of like, okay, it is. You've still got the Yoshi's kind of signature moveset, your flutter jumps, your egg, eating to create eggs, launching eggs, all that kind of stuff. But your ground pound, of course. But now we're sort of saying basically, I think as we already mentioned, I think it was last week, wasn't it? In terms of like going back to sort of Yoshi's story a little bit more and saying, what if you kind of went more in that direction, but much more sort of fundamental and thorough sort of reevaluation of that premise than just like kind of, riffing on it again. So it's like, okay, if we have a platformer that is not about just getting to a definite goal, what can we do with that? What kind of a 2D side-scrolling kind of sandbox can we make? And so that was what was intriguing to me, because like I said, with Yoshi's Story back in the day, and I didn't buy it, originally. The reviews weren't that bad. They were kind of lukewarm when you consider how much more positive they'd been for Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo. But when you're importing games, as we were at that time, N64 games, hugely, hugely expensive. So the idea of something that was kind of like, it's all right, but it doesn't last at all long, and it's just not very sort of complicated. I couldn't justify it. So it was many years later that I played Yoshi's Story, and it always struck me as kind of an interesting thing of like almost taking some of the concepts that they'd been grappling with about taking a platformer into 3D and then kind of backporting them into a side-scrolling game, right? But not necessarily doing it all that successfully. And there's definitely like one of the things that I think is a bit kind of just... and it's a weird thing to say about a game that is notoriously for being like incredibly easy, but I do think it's when you do die in Yoshi's Story, it just feels like incredibly out of place and bad. Because it's like, if you are just trying to find all the special melons that you possibly can, to run that score up, which is, really, where the kind of meat of the game is, if you like, because just eating fruit indiscriminately is ridiculously simple to achieve. Sometimes, you're trying to kind of float over some, gap or do something, and all of a sudden you might just screw it up and die, and then it's like, oh, well, that's like ruined the whole thing now. Like, it doesn't really, it feels really out of place, and that's the thing here. It just kind of, with Mysterious Book, they're kind of fully committing to the premise, right? Of just like, there's no lives, there's no... Because again, you effectively had lives. It was the number of Yoshis. In Yoshi's Story, you had like the original kind of, whatever it was, 6 colours, I think, and then you could kind of find extra ones, the black and white Yoshis, who were extra lives, and essentially they were easier to get decent scores with, because I think they liked all the fruits or something. But the point is now, they've just sort of said, well, good feel, there's no lives, there's no death. It's just kind of screw around in these kind of settings and see what you can make happen in a lot of cases, which, like I said, is a much more kind of distinct take on, like, let's do something that really isn't just, you think of some of the things I have done before, especially like Kirby's Epic Yarn was quite, and I guess this is what probably distinguished them as being suitable in Nintendo's mind to take on Yoshi stuff. That was a very kind of Yoshi-ish game rather than a Kirby game, right? Because it was like, well, you couldn't really die in that, but it would punish you on a score basis, right? And so it was like, there was getting to the end of a level was relatively simple. I mean, you were still just going from point A to point B. It was linear in that way, but that in itself is kind of, I wouldn't quite say trivial. That's unfair, but there's nothing too much involved in that until maybe really towards the end. The big thing is getting the collectibles, having that. I mean, that had a more granular like score based on how many beads you were getting in general, and of course, if you were to fall into a pit, it would like penalise you based on how many beads you had, and so that would affect your ability to get the best grade and all that. So it was very much like, are you playing this well? Right, it's like it's easy to just play through, but there's an extra layer of playing well, which was pretty similar to what they were trying to do with the original Yoshi's Island, right? When you had that score that was based on the number of points on the counter for Baby Mario and the flowers and the red coins. So that was their way of doing kind of trying to say, oh well, you've make it sort of an organic kind of difficulty, right? Whereas this now is just kind of really saying, hey, screw difficulty altogether to a degree. Is kind of like just trying to be a real experimentation sort of incentive. And I guess what it reminds me of on a number of, a few different things which aren't games that necessarily have this kind of structure, right? Things that have a more adventure sort of bent to them. Like, first of all, I could say even something like Zack and Wiki, going back to that on Wii, where, you kind of experimented with, okay, you got this thing here, that thing there. I can combine them. I can combine them in different orders or something, to try and make something happen to achieve an objective to like advance the thing. Like it's got a lot of that kind of going on. Also, a little bit like I think it's with Tokitori 2. I want to say the one that was a little bit. It had like almost like a Metroid kind of world structure, but I guess it's not really accurate to call it like a Metroid style of game. From the point of view.
It was more like you basically had the ability to whistle and stomp, and that was it. But
you had a fixed skill set. That's the important distinction, right? And
like you learn how to use it. Like basically, like a new screen might teach you that like this can achieve that. And that would basically, that's how you would find secrets that you had completely missed before.
Yeah, so there was this element of like retraversal, and it's like, oh well, now I know, not now I can do this. Now I know about this, and I can apply it. So it had a similar kind of effect to a Metroid game, but in a different way. But the point is, you have that sort of fixed moveset of a character. And, that gives you a certain number of options for how to interact with things. But a lot of it is what's there to be interacted with and what sort of combinations, that presents and sort of permutations. And you sort of run through them to try and, sum out some sort of obstacle or just make stuff happen, right? And that's what you've got here, but to a large degree with Yoshi the Mysterious Book, but just in a kind of level by level structure. And even the thing about kind of knowledge really does kind of apply too, because what you have here, basically you've got sort of chapters, right, in the eponymous book, which are like worlds in your typical kind of platformer scenario, right? So there's 6 of those. But each one kind of starts with maybe a choice or two of like, oh, here's a creature that we're supposed to investigate and fill in the details of for the book. And so you kind of pick one, you go into it and that's kind of your level is just based around this particular creature. And then you start screwing around, seeing what you can do. A lot of it is going to be, those core sort of Yoshi verbs, of like, okay, well, I can try eating it, I can try stomping it, I can try hitting it with an egg, and of course the new one, which is I can try sort of flicking it up onto Yoshi's back. And riding around with it, right? So which is a kind of key one in a lot of cases. So it's like, yeah, hey, just try some of these out, see what they say. Obviously, the kind of encyclopedia book thing is like giving you a certain amount of hints about what might work or what's of interest or whatever. And so you're kind of doing pretty much anything you feel like, really, but a lot of the time they are kind of breadcrumbing you towards like a particular kind of major objective that then gives you the sort of prompts you to kind of end the level, but it isn't really a goal per se. It's because you can essentially say, no, I just want to keep mucking around for a while and see if I can find out more. And that's really the thing, is the way that the interesting part of it, I guess, is how they try and sort of turn that into like, okay, well, how is that's something you might sound like fun, especially for younger players just want to kind of go for a more pure play experience of just kind of experimenting and mucking around. But how do you make it into something that's kind of goals oriented, like video game design of unlocking things and whatever? So what they've done is kind of say, basically, like kind of these discoveries, these little things that kind of count as something notable enough to be a point in the entry for this thing's, kind of pages in the book, is like worth a certain number of star points, right? So I think the basic ones are like a single point, and then something that's considered more major is like 2. And then if you get what is used, these sort of things that are like approximate to completing the level, they're like a 3-star discovery. And so, but that's the thing, even the ones that are major, you could easily get just as many stars from just screwing around. It's like, oh yeah, well, this thing kind of gets planted back into the ground if you stomp on it or whatever. That's worth 1. So it's leaving it very kind of open to how much people want to engage with, like what are kind of meant to be the more major objectives. But you can get just as much credit for, I fed a chili to a flower and its face got red or whatever. The problem is a lot of the value in this game is just seeing what can happen, right? So I definitely don't want to kind of spoil it, really, because that's where the value is like what happened when you put these two things together, or what this sort of creature actually can do when you kind of give it a certain object or whatever. That is the game, right? Is discovering those things. So I don't really want to get too much into specifics, but it's so far, like I said, I've played the first 4 of the 6 chapters, and it's not, I wouldn't say like super thoroughly, although it's not always that easy to tell how thorough you've been. I mean, the one aspect that's very much traditional Yoshi, in terms of like outlining collectibles, is they've still got the sunflowers, and as you've had, going all the way back to Yoshi's Island, and certainly they were in Woolly World and Crafted World as well. And with those, it's like, okay, how many of them there are coming into the level, and they have like a sequence to them, right? So if you get one, it'll appear on the screen. It's like, I've got the second of the 4. So you kind of know, if I go backwards, to where I started in the level, maybe I'll find the first of the 4, and if I go beyond that, maybe I'll find the third and the fourth one. So that's kind of more traditional stuff. The rest of it is like, who knows? I don't know how many star points there are in a lot of these levels. You know what I mean? I've tried to kind of go in there, try to make a decent effort of like, rather than just kind of following the breadcrumbs and figuring out what it wants me to do for that sort of 3-star objective that is kind of like the end of the level. I oftentimes think, there's still that thing over there. Maybe I've got a few ideas of stuff to try that might, kind of open that up or whatever and get some more stars. But I don't think I've maxed out any of them. with the the sunflowers, which are a bit like star coins basically. That's very explicitly tracked, and like one of the chapters, I've got all the sunflowers already, and that hasn't really unlocked anything or done anything. The only thing that's kind of unlocked stuff so far is like the accumulation of those star points associated with all the various discoveries you make about these creatures in their levels. And, that very quickly, I mean, I think it was probably somewhere where I was in the second chapter. And again, trying to be somewhat like maybe decent sort of go at being thorough, but not actually attempting to max anything out. I'd already accumulated enough of those star points to unlock all the subsequent chapters, so presumably I could have like skipped ahead if I'd wanted to, and seen, really skipped and seen the very back end of the game, I guess, like really fast. But I don't really see the point of that myself. But again, it was all part of the ethos of the game, seemingly, of like it wants to be very kind of accommodating of like, hey, what do you want to do with this? It's a sandbox kind of thing, and how much do you want to make an effort to exhaust all these different discoveries before you move on? Like I said, for me, it's like my general kind of approach with these sorts of things. Like even if it's something like a new Super Mario Brothers with star coins, it's like I'm always going to try and find them on the first time through, but I'm not going to say, all right, I will not advance until I have. At various points, I'll just say, no, I want to see the next level, and I'll come back, to find the extra stuff another time. So similar kind of approach here, but, just with this, it's so granular. Like I said, there's just so many potential little discoveries. There's so many of these star points that you can make. It really is a very, very open kind of structure. And it's just a case of, how much do you want to engage with these things and see what happens? And I think the main sort of encouraging point that I've seen, based on, reading the reviews and now my experience playing deeper, into the extra sort of the further chapters, is that, the complexity, even if it is, very, very accommodating and is not like specifically trying to be challenging, there is additional complexity. And, going back to that Toki Tori 2 sort of analogy, there is this kind of feeling of knowledge of previous sort of creatures paying off. Because, you get new creatures, essentially new levels that are based around this one particular thing. But it's like, okay, well, we've got some of the old ones from the various levels are there. So immediately, if you're thinking about how they interacted with the, different things before, now you can kind of start to already kind of think, how are they going to interact with this new thing, the way it behaves, and start, kind of get a head start on the various kind of experimentations with those. And so, it all of a sudden, there's more variables, there's more kind of things to think back on. And it's kind of a bit more satisfying when you kind of make a little bit of a leap of logic and it works, and all of a sudden. So, and also just the amount of different things, sort of reactions and variables that they actually come up with so far, it seems to be ramping up and kind of impressive, because again, pretty simple at the start, and they're just sort of introducing you to, I guess, some of these sorts of little characters and things, the what they call it, the crazy daisy flowers, and these sort of things, that are going to be like the mainstays. And then as the levels, the creatures go on, now all of a sudden you've essentially got a bigger cast and you've got more variables that go with it. And so I think that's important, especially if you're an older player trying to get some satisfaction out of it. There's no doubt. Clearly, as is very glaringly obvious from every aspect about the game, the presentation, the characters, everything. It's skewing younger, and I think probably would be best consumed like kind of parent and child, or maybe older sibling and child, because it's got quite a lot of text and stuff. But so I don't know whether like really young kids are that jazzed about that. But if you've got like an older person guiding them through that and maybe giving them suggestions about stuff to try, but not letting, not spoiling everything for them, and just like watching them kind of mess around with this stuff. I imagine that's probably the really kind of intended experience here. It's kind of like, obviously a lot of the time Nintendo games have these co-star modes, right? Where somebody's kind of helping them get through by shooting star bits or whatever. I get kind of like that, but without the direct interaction, more just you're kind of there with them, watching, what they're trying and maybe giving them suggestions as an older person. But if you're like me and you're just by yourself, that the concern is, would it be complex enough, to really kind of at any point, to really kind of get that kind of enjoyment out of it. But this so far, getting up through pretty much seeing all the unique creatures in that 4th chapter with 2 more to go, I'd say it looks promising on that level, because it just, like I said, that increase in the number of variables and the way things work, is it ever anything that's going to be hugely taxing kind of puzzle platforming kind of stuff? Maybe not. It's more about, sort of your mild puzzling and, kind of an amusement value, you could say, of seeing these different interactions. But it is escalating and it is working. And it's just, there is a sort of, not just with the iconography and the visuals and all that, but I feel like there is a certain fidelity to the spirit of the original Yoshi's Island, just in terms of that sort of the variety of things to do. Again, because that was very much at the heart of it, right? These kind of gimmick elements that they had in there, with just showing off the graphics with the FX chip, or, different vehicles and all this kind of stuff. These sorts of levels here, where they're based around these individual creatures a lot of the time, it gives them the opportunity to kind of explore, a kind of one-off situation, something that seems really quite different from all the other things, which I guess is also a little bit like something closer to home in terms of chronologically, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. With the Wonder Seeds and the effects that they have and all that kind of thing. It's not a million miles away from that, but just obviously much less, sort of actiony, and more kind of seeing, how these sort of puzzle elements come together. So, yeah, it's been, I would say it's been enjoyable so far, especially. While it's true, I would say, fair, what I've seen about reviews saying about it's not necessarily that much of a looker in handheld mode, because the image, kind of scaling doesn't look that clean. A little bit like what you already had with Crafted World back on Switch, where it's just that bit softer, not as clean an image. It's a great handheld game if you kind of, maybe got somewhat divided attention, right? Because it's totally no stakes. You can kind of you're perfectly fine to just sort of lose concentration for a moment in almost every kind of setting here. It's just like, hey, if you could think casually, kind of have it on and think of things to try and do while might be enjoying something else on TV or whatever to some degree. It feels like it's a really good second screen game, whatever you want to say, in that regard. They feel like if you're playing by yourself handheld, this is really quite sort of suitable in that for a kind of chilled out type of second screen experience. And I guess the only last thing I'd say is visually it's kind of quite suitable, I guess, that it fits in with the themes of the being in the book and filling in the pages and all that. It's all very, very cohesive, but I don't think it's nearly as central to the appeal as Woolly and Crafted World. Well, it just like with those, it's so much like the whole world is made out of these things, and they really kind of milk that for enjoying how they kind of represent some of these kind of Yoshi archetypes in that way, or just the intricacy and the amount of thought put into like the handcrafted stuff in Crafted World. This feels a bit more kind of basic. It's not as central to the appeal. I feel it's a bit more utilitarian, really, with just how much, I guess, it's based around all these different kind of objects and how they might end up interacting and physics and all that kind of thing. It's just, it's more about functionality than the pure aesthetic appeal there. So if that was really hugely important, I think, to your enjoyment of those previous Yoshi Goodfield games, might feel like a bit of a drop off. I think, like, again, obviously, I guess the handheld doesn't do it any favors, but I think it looks fine, but nothing especially kind of attractive, hugely kind of impressive or anything here. It's more just kind of, it gets the job done, and it's really kind of about the that puzzle solving and interaction and just pure play elements.
I'm more interested in this game than I expected to be, but I'm still sitting here going like, is it going to give me an experience I enjoy, or is it going to be something I walk away from and go like, with the well-made game professionals rhetoric?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, I think it's possible. So I've got to sort of see the back end of the game. So I'm pleased with how it's been ramping up, as I've said. So maybe they'll really kind of impress me. The couple of chapters that I've yet to see. But what you're talking about sounds perfectly plausible to me. I mean, for me, just because I've got such an attachment to Yoshi's Island and all that, there's an element of just intellectual curiosity to see what they've done. And we've talked about this with Star Fox, right? It's just like, well, remaking Star Fox 64 was the least interesting thing they could do to bring that thing back, right? Well, this is not the least interesting thing they could have done with Yoshi. That is like doing another very closely patterned on Yoshi's Island game, would not have been very interesting at all. And that is, not what we're dealing with here. Like I said, it's something that's it's a 2D platformer, but it's reminding me much more of, adventure games than, a lot of these Yoshi games or other Nintendo side-scrollers. And that's the thing, when you've got the sort of stable of side-scrollers that they've got, from the new Super Mario Brothers games, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the DK, games, the Tropical Freeze and Country Returns and all. I feel like a certain amount of differentiation is warranted, really, and this delivers that a lot more than I think just doing another go round of a Woolly World would have done. So I think you've got to say a certain amount of credit is due for that. But equally, what you're dealing with then is a, kind of experience that may not satisfy in that, because it's a tried and tested kind of formula, right? That kind of platform challenge and getting the collectibles that this is going to deviate and may not satisfy in the same way. And therefore, like you said, you might come away with a certain amount of respect or, admiration for it, but how much did you really enjoy it? That is a question, that you've got to ask, I guess, before you do go into this. But certainly for me, it's just, like I said, feels like it's first sort of, a fundamental rethink of like the concept of what they were trying to get at with Yoshi's story, but really doing it with decades of hindsight and not being as wedded to certain conventions that you just don't need to be, right? You know what I mean? Like I said, you don't need lives, you don't need to. There are the odd bottomless pit, sort of sections in this, and if you fall in them, you just warp back to a safe spot, and that's perfectly, when you're making this kind of game, that makes sense. I don't think what they were doing in Yoshi's story, which is so trivially easy the most of the time, but then there's just this odd bit where it might completely screw up a run, trying to get the best score. It just, I think I've always felt much more incongruous, as I said. So I like the approach that they've gone for here, but if you think in terms of recommendation, you've really got to give it some serious thought, I think, because it just, if it's not like, like I said, that kind of thing where you see yourself chilling out with it in a kind of second screen format, it may not be kind of as directly kind of challenging and rewarding to merit, spending your time with it.
All right, that's fair. All right. Well, we're going to take a break here. We come back. We're going to do an email. I don't know which one yet, so stay tuned to find out. But we are going to read it before we actually do the show this time, so stay tuned. We are back with part 2 of the episode. We are still Sans John, but we are going to do some email where I'm committing to one, but we'll see how fast we get through it. You can send your emails to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. rfn@nintendoworldreport.com if you're not used to listening to disclaimer voice. These people also sent their emails to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com, and I'm going to start with Ben's email, who writes, "Gentlemen, scholars, and longindimen, I was just thinking on the meme about when you fight a boss and they are incredibly tough, but when you unlock the boss as a playable character, they may as well be attacking with the rubber chicken. They are so useless. What are some examples of this that come to mind for you? Mine would be any mainline Warriors game. Ironically, the opposite end of the spectrum for me is also a Warriors game. The original Hyrule Warriors on Wii U. Playing as Ganon was everything I wanted it to be. I have very fond memories of my eldest toddler as a toddler roaring at the screen as I demolished thousands of bokoblins and bashed other bosses into a fine paste. Do you have instances of this that come to mind? As always, thank you for your hard work and time. Love, the Snow."
I mean, the first thing that pops to mind for me is Street Fighter 2. The first Street Fighter 2. Where you had the 8 playable fighters, and then you had, like the unplayable Vega and Bison and yeah, anyway. And like the first time, like, was it through a code that you could play them, or it was just like the next edition after that you could select them?
I mean, I had the import of Street Fighter 2, the first version for Super Famicom, and with that, I think there was a code where you could play mirror match, right? So you could have the alternate colors, like, and which I think maybe the first variant of the arcade game did not let you do that. Right. But like with the Champion Edition or something like that, I think it was that, you could do mirror matches and the bosses became selectable.
It would have been the Turbo on the Super
whereas
NES.
I think on Super Nintendo it was where you could do mirror matches in the first version, but you had to wait till Turbo for the bosses, and then of course Super was when you got Cammy and DJ and the Fei Long.
So basically, like, there was no feeling more had than when you could first play as M. Bison, and like, what the hell? Like, this guy sucks. Like, how come I can't just completely demolish my opponent? And that's because the computer cheats in Street Fighter 2. M. Bison really, like, the CPU M. Bison does stuff that is not possible to do when you are controlling M. Bison. But so there, that's like the first and most obvious example to me. But like in terms of like fighting games, like that just keeps coming up as well. Like Rare, like Killer Instinct is also very bad in that regard. There's a code to play as what was it, Eeyore? No, Idol.
Idol, yes,
right,
yes.
But yeah, like the tough to master, I guess. Like he can absolutely demolish you very quickly when you're playing against the CPU. Try to play as him, and it's like, well, what a huge disappointment.
Well, a lot of the time it's just a giant bloody hitbox, like with those characters. A lot of the time with the fighting game characters that were bosses, not exclusively, but a lot of them are big on the screen. And it's just with me. It's like a lot of the time I just can't handle having being that easy to hit, basically with projectiles and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't often get on that well with those sorts of characters, even if they look kind of cool or something. But No, I mean, a lot of the times when this is something that has happened, I tend to think it's cool, even if it's not like, a win button or anything. I mean, I could think of a few examples that stick out, like Mega Man ZX Advent, right, is an interesting one, because you, it's the typical Mega Man thing is you beat a boss and you take their power, right? And then you get a new gun, to use that's based on what the boss does. In ZX Advent, you turn into the boss, don't you? Like, you are that, like, sprite, basically.
Yes.
So I forget exactly what sort of limitations they put on it, but it felt quite like... It felt like a payoff of like, no, you're actually just going to become the boss now. Like, it felt like a sort of logical evolution and a pretty cool thing, even though I'm sure, especially in some of the individual cases, there must have been, like, oh, actually, this is kind of lame. But the overall concept and the execution of it, I remember really liking that.
The one for me that is... boy, you took a massive downgrade that pops into my mind with this email is Magus from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Now,
again, I would say very similar in terms of, like, on the one hand, you have the big battle against him, and it's kind of meant to feel like this huge boss battle, and he's really tough. But then, when you get him in your party, like, it's kind of, he has some useful qualities, but obviously it's just a party member. It's not, like, completely breaking the game or anything, and he can't do double techs, right?
Yeah.
So it's because he's too much of a loner for that, but he can do triple techs. I forget. It's he can do something.
Yes.
But not as much as the other characters in terms of working together. And so it was kind of, it was a little bit of an underwhelming factor, but it was still like, he's in the party, it's awesome.
But like, also he almost knocked my party out on his own, and now he's like the third most powerful member of it. It's like, shit. It would be really good if you were still as destructive a force as you were 5 minutes ago when we were having the stupid fight. I would really appreciate it. But there RPGs do this a lot. You have to fight somebody to get them to join the party, and then they go through a downscale of their leveling. In fighting games, though, they're sort of the opposite. Well, not necessarily. So the unlockable fighting game characters oftentimes are really, really good, but they're not usually. I'm trying to get to find the name of this character. The SNK bosses. I don't know if y'all have a lot of experience with SNK fighting games.
Direct experience, no, but I've heard a fair bit about them over the years.
Yeah, the bosses of SNK fighting games are fucking nightmares. They do tremendous damage. They take very little damage. They have cheesy hitboxes. And they also read your inputs like bastards. And so beating them is effectively, you don't have to be better than them. You have to be 3 times better than them. And so when you unlock them, they lose omniscience when you play as them. So inherently, they will never be as good as they were when you fought them. However, they're still really fucked up and hard to fight because they have weird hitboxes or high damage outputs or receive incredibly low damage. And so you end up with this like really nightmarish opponent to fight against. And usually these characters end up being banned because they're fucking nightmares. And you just can't beat them. Like they are incredibly difficult to beat if you have 2 players who are roughly commensurate in their skill set. But there is a fighting game that I played on GameCube of all things. That is maybe the worst. And that is Bloody Roar Primal Fury, which is a 3D fighting, 3D fighting game where you could turn into monsters. The original Bloody Roar, not the Primal Fury version, it came out on PS2, had 2 unlockable characters. And they are, one of them is the boss, and one of them is like the boss's boss, and they're both really hard. But in the Primal Fury add-on, you get 2 more unlockables, and one of them is just a regular character, so it's not a big deal. But one of them is Kronos the Penguin / Phoenix, because he has 2 transformations, because he's special. He is hell. He is absolute hell. And to unlock him, you have to beat him in, I want to say, in the extreme mode, which required you beat the boss who is the character who is normally the boss. I think you have to beat that character like extra strong, like really pound them into the ground to get the chance, and then you fight him, and he's even harder. But here's the thing. His beast form is a penguin. We have a overpowered input reading boss character who's also an odd job. Have fun, because his hitbox fucking sucks, and most of his moves are on the ground with him laying down sliding at you, which means even your kicks go over his head. It's a nightmare to fight him. And he was instantly banned when I played with friends. Instantaneously, not allowed. Because, like, if you imagine, you know, oh, you can't play as Odd Job, and this is worse than, this is a turbo Odd Job. This is Odd Job with, like, boost skills. It's hell. It's just hell.
You know, kind of, I'm sure we've mentioned it over the years, but it still just breaks my brain how the Odd Job thing happened. Because it's like, you know, if somebody has seen Goldfinger, they wouldn't be thinking that Odd Job would have a small hitbox.
No.
So I can only assume it was a sort of bizarre
he's
conflation.
Short, Greg.
It was a bizarre conflation with the Knick-Knack character from The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's called Knick-Knack. Like, they weren't being subtle here.
It's Bond. It's never been subtle.
No.
But, I mean, it's like, how did that happen? How do you conflate those 2 people? I just don't understand it.
I do, but I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it out loud.
No, absolutely.
What I will
bizarre.
say is Rare made it, and that is a strong piece of evidence for how you could get there.
I know there's plenty of stories about the fact that multiplayer mode was thrown together like quite hastily.
Yes.
So it's in that, you know, background, you know, that it should be remembered, I suppose. And obviously it was very much a time before updates after release, and still, it's like, come on, bloody hell. And then it created this character that was entirely unbalanced. Right? The rest of it's like, who picked Jaws in GoldenEye? What sick bastard decided, you know what, I want to get shot a lot?
I picked Jaws a lot, but that's because I was weird and just thought his model looked particularly funny, and wanted to have other people see me run at them as Jaws. Later, oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, later, you know, Free Radical, a studio by former Rare employees, made the Time Splitters games, right? And they kept the whole playable characters of different sizes thing. Like, you could play as a monkey, but crucially, you could have stats. Like, they had different stats. Like, the monkeys were weaker than bigger characters. But you could also turn that off if you wanted to really recreate the unfair experience of playing GoldenEye. So, the best of all the worlds, I guess.
I forgot there's another unlockable character in that same game. Fuck, seriously? God damn it. That's also a nightmare. Every character in this game is hell. So just hell all the way down. I will say I have only beaten SNK boss characters like 5 times in my life. I played a lot of SNK fighting games.
Again, I guess this is it's sort of similar to the one that you're talking about with the, like you said, they can't live up to it, right? Those fighting game character bosses,
right,
because of the cheese factor, right?
Like they're still broken, but they just can't be as broken as they are.
It's a little bit in that spirit, but it actually spans multiple games as well. So basically, there was in Super Smash Bros. Melee, there was the event mode, I want to say it was called, right? So
yes,
there was about 50 of them, I think. And it's just like, kind of a foreshadowing of things like the spirit battles that would come, many games later, years later, where it's like, okay, Smash Brothers just gives us, a bunch of, especially even by Melee, more characters, more stages, more items, right? It gives us these variables. Let's just kind of create an event that's a one-off kind of battle, and see, it's just a bit of extra content to go with the adventure mode and the arcade and the all-star mode, all that stuff. And the last one was basically meant to be really difficult, right? Naturally, so it's like you had to fight all the big baddies all at once. So it was like you got Ganondorf in there, you got Mewtwo. And
I remember this, yes.
Giga Bowser all at once, right? And it was always like, can you get the lesser ones out quick, like that? Sort of get them out cheaply and then focus on Giga Bowser. That was how I remember trying to overcome this event anyway. And it was difficult. I found it difficult. It took a long time, and it sort of it left an impression. And then I think it was Brawl that introduced the final smashes, right? So, you break the smash ball open and you get the big ultimate attack. And of course, in the first iteration of those, they had a bit more variation. Like when you get to ultimate, they've tried, so they do like, okay, the ones that went on like too long, we're getting rid of them. So, was it the Landmaster for the Star Fox characters and stuff, where the Landmaster just lands on the stage and you roll around and fire the cannon for a while. Like they got rid of these types of ones. But Bowser would turn into Giga Bowser, and just you could stomp around as Giga Bowser for a while, in that sort of spirit of final smashes that would get retired, and that was very disappointing. I gotta say, having sort of suffered as much as I had against Giga Bowser in the event mode, getting to turn into him, it did not feel that great. It didn't feel as devastating as a lot of the other final smashes, really. And it did get changed with a bunch of them, because again, they just wanted to make it snappier. I get it, kind of makes sense. Yeah. Some of those were better than others. That Giga Bowser one wasn't that hard. I mean, I don't even, again, where the hell did Giga Bowser come from? What did that have to do with anything? I never got it.
I'm pretty sure they invented it.
Yeah, but it's just strange, isn't it? It's just like, we need to make this like more just kaiju kind of. But like Bowser becoming bigger is like very much a part of like Mario games, isn't it? You know what I mean? But it's like, no, it's not just that. He like takes on this weird like, I don't know, like cockerel kind of appearance. It's a little bit.
He gets and his horns get more bullish.
It's a weird one, but I think there's been other cases where like having actually playing as Bowser has been way better. Like, I mean, I guess this is a spoiler. The game is 9 years old and very prominent. The end of Odyssey, where you get to capture Bowser with Cappy and play as him, like that's really cool. Playing as him in Bowser's Inside Story always felt really kind of just the way it should. Go back to having him in the party in Super Mario RPG. I always thought that really worked very well, even if it wasn't like some, couldn't like have the game balance just get all screwed up by it. It just, they kind of found a way of encapsulating his just, big burly oaf persona in the gameplay somehow.
I guess the only reason Giga Bowser exists is because in Melee you did run into him. I want to say there were some routes of classic mode where you got him instead of Crazy Hand or Master Hand, and just to visually differentiate him from Bowser, who had become playable in that game. Giving
That's
it
right. That was the first one that had any villains, which is what gave them the chance to do that sort of play against. Oh well, not the Master and the Crazy Hand, but the sort of the other villains that were in there, where you had to fight them all at once.
Because his body's also quite a bit different. His musculature is far more defined, but he's svelter, if that makes sense. Like Bowser's legs are just tree trunks, whereas Giga Bowser has more just like muscular-looking humanoid-style legs. If that makes whereas regular Bowser just has big, dumb, scaly cylinders.
Yeah, it's just kind of strange, isn't it? Like, because it's such a game of references.
Right.
It's kind of strange to have something that isn't really a reference to anything. It's just they I guess they felt like, well, we, like you said, we got to juice him up to be this kind of kaiju boss kind of thing, and we don't just want to make him bigger. That's too easy. That's too simple.
It also, I can't remember if Giga Bowser was in the Bowser arcade mode route, classic mode. Because that does feel like who they would have put to be his opponent. Would be like, Bowser, you're fighting Giga Bowser. Have fun. He's you, but hits harder. Is there ever a game where, yes, you can. There are some challenges in Ultimate where I think you can play as Giga Bowser. And they usually give you like a bunch of enemies to fight at one time. When you try to, like, some of the badge challenges or whatever. I want to say there's a few of those. But yeah, you're right. I think they just wanted to be able to juice it up. And since Bowser was already in the game, they had to juice it up a little extra. I'm trying to think what other RPGs have you fight somebody and then they join the party. I'm sure there's a million
I think
of them.
There's a bunch, but nothing really stands out to me, like maybe some of the Final Fantasy Legend games on the Game Boy. Because sometimes some characters, some NPCs would join your party and then leave. Surely one of them was a boss. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like a bunch of Fire Emblem games do it, but that's hard to read because generally speaking, individual characters aren't that strong. It's
a unit thing, right? So it's like it's pretty tough to kind of say that it's like they would always work differently in your army than they would when you're going up against them. So it's never, you wouldn't expect symmetry there in the first place.
Yeah, but I've got one. This one's obvious. Jin, Xenoblade 2. Where he is devastatingly dangerous when you're fighting him in battles. And then when you're playing as him, he really isn't. Now, there is a slight reason why you could justify that because of timeline shenanigans. But still, you can get him as one of... Because remember, in Xenoblade 2, you can just get blades at the end that are story blades that you shouldn't have access to, but they're just like, here they are. That's kind of a New Game Plus thing. Mm. He's not that good in that context. He kind of sucks. But I get it, because otherwise they would just be too fucking much.
Another positive one I'd say for... in the Warriors context, obviously we talked about Ganondorf there, but I thought Zant was a lot of fun in that. Because it very sort of directly calls back to the kind of just batshit stuff he gets up to in that boss fight that you have with him in Twilight Princess. And it's you do again. Obviously, the whole appeal of the Warriors games is taking things out en masse. But because he had it's a pretty memorable sequence because it's almost like a boss rush. The Zant encounter in Twilight Princess, because he kind of takes on aspects of previous bosses you fought, but now it's like the weirdo Zant version of it. And then so like a lot of his kind of attacks in in the Warriors game, the first Hyrule Warriors, kind of patterned on stuff out of that, and he's such a strange character. I guess the whole thing about him, I guess, is just that at first he's sort of all kind of silent and kind of seems really menacing, and then the sort of more manic, just ridiculous sort of aspect of him comes out at the end, and it's just an amusing kind of take on the Ganondorf is always pretty much similar. There is the Wind Waker Twilight Princess dichotomy of the kind of older rueful Ganondorf versus the just I'm a god, deal with it version.
Right. Anybody else got one? Oh, Bowser joined your party in Mario RPG, and obviously,
I mentioned that.
He's not.
I thought that was pretty cool.
But
again, I said I just
can't remember what he plays like though.
I haven't played the remake a little way back. I feel like it's got a nice kind of. I like, not that it's like especially kind of faithful to like something specific that he did like in actual games, but I do like some of like the weaponry. He's got like like he's swinging a chain chomp around like a mace and all that kind of stuff. Like it just it felt fun to me, the stuff that they were doing there, to kind of leverage, his kind of physicality and having him on your side and all that. There's something about that kind of thing that is intrinsically kind of amusing to me, even if gameplay wise it's not that revelatory or kind of game changing or anything like that. It's unless it's a real kind of clunker where it's like, oh, actually this is really, really rubbish. I would always kind of like to see it because it just feels it's like the those virtually every cartoon I could think of when I was growing up had some sort of episode where like the baddies have to join up with the good guys to take on something worse, right? And right. I always love those episodes because it's just like, yeah, you get to see. Usually they were so crushingly similar, the episodes basically just had the same story every week. They didn't go anywhere. It was nice to see any kind of variation of the core dynamic.
I want to say there's a G.I. Joe arc where they're basically just, when they make the genetically engineered enemy, where it's not even like this guy's worse, it's just kind of F this guy, I'll help you out just because I hate him. The pettiness I appreciate. I talked about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and they completely escaped my mind another way this archetype plays out, which is this boss sucks when they're your opponent, not because they're hard, they just actually suck, they're terrible at their job. They join your party and they remain terrible at their job. And of course, I'm talking about Thunderbolt, Zeke, and Pandoria, who are fucking terrible every time you encounter them. And then they join the party and they're still terrible. They're Team Rocket. And we've joked about it.
They are Team Rocket, aren't they?
They're Team Rocket. The smartest member of their party is a pet turtle.
Yeah, sort of like Meowth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not as loquacious.
Then they join the party and they don't get any better. And that's kind of why I love them, because they don't get any better. They might get worse. They might actually get stupider. They're not great in the unit as units. Like, they're fine, I guess. I used them a lot just because I liked hearing them banter at each other during fights, but they didn't do a whole lot. But I like that archetype of this character sucked, as in they're bad, not as in they suck to play against. You recruit them, they're still terrible, and they're still just kind of hanging around. And you're just like, well, I guess they're here now, you fucks. There's a bunch of Fire Emblem characters that are like that, where like you recruit them and they're garbage, and they stay garbage, and you just have this garbage that hangs around and talks to you. Versus they're garbage when you recruit them, and then if you put them through hell, they become ultra powered. But no, Xenoblade 2 is full of people that were your enemies becoming your party members through the power of friendship, and also through the power of most of the people in that universe suck. Oh, why did they even try to save the world of Xenoblade 2? It's fucking nightmarish. It's a hellscape.
I've got one, maybe one that's a little bit out there.
Okay.
What is the title? In Phoenix Wright, you play as Phoenix Wright, and you're facing the toughest prosecutor that's ever prosecuted.
The Von Karma?
No, well, Miles
Edgeworth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually you play as Miles Edgeworth, and he's not that tough.
No.
No.
Well, he was cheating.
Right.
So like that's the thing. He was cheating.
All of a sudden, he has to investigate cases, and just...
And he also picks up his legally distinct teenage girl that follows him around.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah. Shows that he really had nothing going on for himself. Like, he's just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just steal Phoenix's shtick.
They do kind of imply, though, before those games that he really has nothing going on for himself.
It's true.
They do make it pretty clear that besides doing his job, he's got nothing going on. So the idea that, like, he pals around with a teenage young adult girl. I guess I should do that too. She's here and I don't want to get rid of her. I'm too polite. I realize that the reason he recruits his... By the way, those games are on sale if you've never played them. The reason he recruits his partner is he's too polite to tell her to leave, despite the fact that, one, he's a prosecutor, and two, she introduces herself as a famous thief. It's such a stupid... He has so nothing going on that he's willing to hang out with, one, someone who's a little bit too young for him to be hanging out with, but not so young people are going to call the cops. And two, someone who he has been trying to arrest for years and is like, well, fuck it, I guess, to help me break into these crime scenes. You're right, he has nothing going on. I mean, you could say that about the Von Karma daughter as well. She's also the toughest thing going on in the prosecutor's office.
But she never joins your team, does she?
I think she does for a little bit as a stalling maneuver while the rest of the party is out hunting for evidence. I think she has to represent Edgeworth briefly or some fucked up shit. They route a lot of people through the defense chair at some point in the series or another for a little bit. I think she does very briefly. God, everyone in that universe is an idiot. I think you found a universe dumber than the Xenoblade 2 universe, Guillaume.
Wasn't that hard?
It's not. I should play Investigations 2 again. It's really good. We've never used music from it, I don't think. It's really good. But also, the game the plot of that game is dumb by Ace Attorney standards. I want to lay that out there. It's dumb by the standards of a series that is canonically incredibly stupid. So if you're looking for your next game, consider, if you will, the Investigations games. All right. I think we're going to call it here. Email.
There's a couple of things I want to mention that's like opposite. So, well, not one of them is very much an opposite. First of all, Kirby games have a history of letting you play as like in subsequent modes. Like Meta Knight or DDD. But the caveat with that is like if you're ever playing as someone other than Kirby, you will be less powerful.
Yeah.
So again, it's like you kind of what you're getting into there, but it is actually fun and cool. But that it is also a downgrade. And the last thing is, which is just a straight out inversion of this, but it was a kind of memorable thing. And again, this is spoiling a 10-year-old game at this point. The end of Metroid Prime Federation Force has you fight against Samus, which is pretty cool in terms of, yes, we've had like the SAX and stuff before where you kind of like, oh yeah, Samus is actually pretty terrifying, isn't she? But this is more like, you know, from the perspective of like, you know, ostensibly regular kind of soldiers or whatever. And it's pretty cool to see Samus's kind of abilities worked into a boss fight like that, you know, the equipment and the different moves she does, like kind of adapted in that way, I thought was really nice.
Shovel Knight also does that when you with all the modes they made of the other characters. I thought they actually did a nice job maintaining what makes those characters unique and not feeling like they've been badly downgraded, because I think most of the Order of No Quarter is playable by the end of the DLC.
Well, I mean, the Spectre Knight and what was the Plague of Shadows? And,
Plague Knight.
King
Tinker Knight.
Yeah, I forget about those are the three that I can think of. They were pretty satisfying campaigns.
Yeah, and they
Plague
feel...
Knight. That's Plague of Shadows. It's Plague Knight, right?
Yes. Yeah. The King. You can play as the King as well.
King Knight, which is like the Wario inspired one. It feels like that was pretty cool.
Because I think his is called King of Cards. The Shovel Knight package, if you bought the whole thing, is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous product you got. Also on sale right now, if you've never played them, I guess to go along with Mina the Hollower. You can get all the DLC for $3 each, or $4 each. Which is a lot of content for $4.
Actually, that was like one of the games that I played on my 3DS while I was in Japan. I had bought it and I had never played it on the 3DS, so that was a good opportunity. Played through the Shovel Knight campaign and then like most of the Plague Knight campaign. I've actually never really dug into the rest of it because Plague Knight is not my favorite, and so I eventually just get tired of it and I fell off.
Oh, I think you can play a Shield Knight as well. I think there's a Shield Knight campaign now too.
They were kind of I think when the eShop was shutting down, they made it really cheap. I think the 3DS Shovel Knight, so I did get that. I just messed around with it for a few levels, and I like the way the stereoscopic effect looks with that sort of classic pixel art. It goes quite nicely.
It's real good. It's real good. Any others?
That's me spent, I think.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, emails, send them rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That is rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. Only one email this week, but we did 6 last week, so, in the cosmic balance. Greg, what music are we concluding this episode with?
Well, aptly enough, I did want to commemorate the occasion of Mina the Hollower. Presumably it may be out by now, given the time, or maybe still a few hours to go, but certainly it'll be out by the time anyone hears this. So I wanted to go back to the Shovel Knight well for a song, because we've not used it terribly often over all these years, actually. We had a request for a song probably over a year ago. There was the main theme. But not other occasions, I don't think. So I took a look at it, and I think, especially given the fact that we're finally getting this next game that Yacht Club had promised for quite a long time, the title certainly appealed to me. But also the song itself is another one of those, rather like the one from Kirby Planet Robobot that I used a little while back there, where it's that kind of build-in momentum towards the climax, kind of getting kind of triumphant stuff. So this is called The Fateful Return, Tower Approach. And again, you can imagine, if you remember any of Jake Kaufman's music, probably just beyond Shovel Knight even, but certainly with Shovel Knight, it's got that supremely energetic kind of quality in general, that harnessing that 8-bit energy. But this is it dialed all the way up because you're working your way towards the climax of the game and just kind of iterating on that main theme of what is now sort of referred to latterly as Shovel of Hope, right? Because they sort of had to give the Shovel Knight campaign a title like the others.
Right. I can't confirm. As near as I can tell, Mina the Hollower is out now. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, on that, it is time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.